Hello. So we're just going to wait a few minutes before we start, just to give people a little bit more time to arrive, just because I know everyone's quite busy, particularly if you're founding businesses, very busy. So usually what I do at the start is allow people to introduce themselves and their business. But yeah, we might actually skip that process today, just because there's a lot to get through, and it's important that you guys hear all of the useful information. If you've got any questions throughout this session, please either raise your hand or send me a message, and I will try to circle back at the end and answer that question. Anything that doesn't quite make sense, or anything that requires a little bit of recontextualization. One of the things about giving advice is that it needs to be personalized and specific to the business model that it's kind of designed for. So in many respects, when we run these sessions, there's such a wide variety of different businesses that join us. It's difficult to generalize some of this quite detailed information. So I'll actually be running a case study on intangible services today. And I'm aware that some of you guys are selling actual physical products, which is the opposite end of the kind of tangibility spectrum. Alrighty, we've got a few people here. I might actually hear from you guys to start off with, if you want to speak. If you're not in a position to speak, just tell me, it's fine, I'll pass. So what we might do is, if you'd like, we might first start off with David Small. So David, if you'd like to give us a really brief overview about where you're located, your venture and your current status, that would be really quite interesting for us.
Yeah, quite happy to do that, Tristan. I'm actually really here to say farewell to you. Are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Did they renew the program that you're in, or haven't you heard yet?
They will. It'll just be allocated to a different provider. So Business Station will no longer be running digital solutions in Queensland, Western Australia, and Northern Territory. That's what we can say at this point. In terms of who will replace them, hard to say. Also, I mean, around the rest of the country, there'll be new providers. That kind of means that the program will continue on. It just won't continue with Business Station specifically. So it's not a huge ordeal, I wouldn't expect. There's plenty.
You might have to put an application in your own name.
No, I can't do that because I don't run a not-for-profit. Anyway, we better quickly nip on to talking about business. Yeah. That's a side issue, but I will discuss some of the details of that later on in the presentation.
Yeah, where I've just been trying to get as many things, because I'm Brisbane based, as many things done as I possibly can for our patent acceptance, which for our granted status. Our patent acceptance was December 22, and I was expecting it to be Wednesday, but there was some pushback from, and nothing sinister, where I just think somebody didn't do what they should have done before they went on holidays before Christmas. So that granted status is now April.
David, just a second. Could you just please maybe introduce what you're doing, your name, and just keep it really brief, just because I'm conscious that we need to get started. So just so the rest of the audience can know who you are and what you're working on specifically.
Well, the company's called Defining Future Solutions. You've heard of agritech, fintech, medtech. climate tech. I'm starting a new niche called human tech, and it's all about saving lives. And our first foray is an integrated down light and smoke alarm, which we have that patent acceptance from IP Australia. So it's just been a big rush at the moment, to start on different things. So that as soon as acceptance happens on granted status happens on April 12, one day before my birthday, if anybody's interested. We're ready to go with the certification and compliance, which is something that's going to get us higher up in that technical readiness level of applying for Ignite Ideas. That's it. Hello.
Awesome.
Hello. Are you there?
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, sorry guys. I'm back now. All right.
Well, I hope they all heard.
Not as good.
Hope they all heard that, Tristan. Otherwise, you can just move on to somebody else.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure they have. Thanks very much, David. Okay, really quickly, guys, because we've only got a couple more minutes, but I would just like to invite Anna to introduce herself if she so wishes, to explain who she is, what she's working on, and what part of the country she's from. If you'd like to explain, Anna.
Sure, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. Yeah, so Anna Black, my business is strategic career planning, and I'm a career counsellor. I help mid-career professionals figure out what to do with their lives when they're dissatisfied and what they're currently doing. I've had the business for around 8 years, and I'm just kind of getting back into it after a bit of a break last year. And yeah, look, the title of this really appealed to me because I'm looking at building up my client base and partnerships, and I'm not sure exactly what to expect because I'm just quite new to some of these webinars and resources through Business Station, but happy to be here.
Awesome, thanks so much. Jacinta, if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick overview about yourself and your business and your location.
Hi, my name's Jacinta. I'm located in Brisbane, Queensland, and I am a little bit like Anna, where I've had my business in the pipeline for a few years, and I'm just jumping back in and giving it the time it deserves again now. And it's a counselling business mainly focused on people and anxiety.
Oh, okay, no worries, cool, that's great. Awesome. So I'll just meet you guys. Linny, how are you doing?
Hi, Tristan. Thank you. So I'm from Melbourne, and I am a chartered accountant by profession, but I'm in a new phase where I'm starting out a sugarless dessert business, and so very much in the initial stages and strategizing how I should launch the brand and working through those type of elements.
Excellent. Well, welcome along. And again, guys, apologies, the internet clearly works a lot better. So without further ado, let's get started. It's quite a sophisticated topic to Catherine. We'll quickly hear from her and then we'll launch straight in. Hi, Catherine. If you'd like, please maybe introduce yourself and what kind of business that you're involved in. And if you want to pass, then that's fine as well. Yeah. Alrighty, we'll give her a few more seconds to decide. And if not, that's okay. we can move along. Alrighty, let's move along. So thanks again, guys, for coming, setting aside some time to discuss this really important challenge, which is how do we create customers? So I'm going to give you a bit of a framework which should help you quite considerably understand how this all works. So yes, here we go. So it's creating new customers and key partnerships online. So yeah, very important topic, as I'm sure you guys message me in the chat, and I will return at the end to answer those comments. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, just think of them and type. Unfortunately, not going to be running the next round of digital solutions. However, digital solutions will still exist across the entirety of Australia, all states and territories. So before this all happened, Business Station was delivering in Western Australia, Queensland, Northern Territory, and had a whole range of different incubators, offices and workshop spaces that we could actually deliver face-to-face workshops and also meet clients one-on-one across in these offices. That's not going to be the case moving forward. There were 92 people that applied to deliver digital solutions, and someone else has secured it for that region. If you're looking at some of the other regions like Melbourne, traditionally it has been delivered by Melbourne Innovation Centre. Whether that will continue, we don't know as of yet, but the announcements will come in the coming days from Julie Collins, who's like Tasmanian MP. Okay, just to give you a quick overview about who's doing the presentation. So this is me. I'm in the process of heading across to Victoria next. So I've changed my update, my location to Victoria, but I've got a lot of clients across in Western Australia, Queensland, and the Northern Territory. My LinkedIn is below, but effectively my expertise is around helping small businesses really get quite rigorous in terms of how they plan their business. And I do so by making use of a whole variety of different business modeling tools. So for example, business model canvases, value proposition canvases, operating model canvases, doing really detailed segmentation, these kind of things. And effectively, the result is just you're a lot clearer on what you need to be doing and how you need to be doing it, right? So there is, that's, when people found a startup, typically they've got an idea about what they should be doing, but over the course of time, it becomes clearer and clearer in terms of what works and what doesn't work for their particular situation. And so what we try to do is fast track that by actively asking those questions ahead of schedule, preemptively. So I'll explain a little bit more about that, but effectively what it is, it's like, I've effectively designed a bit of an accelerator program that I take founders through and help them clarify different facets of their business, and it helps them mature the business a lot quicker. Anyway, that's not today's topic. Today's topic is about the third stage of customer development. Now, customer development is a concept that some of you may have heard about before. It's a bit of a nebulous kind of abstract. The way it's described is quite abstract. Effectively, it was invented by a Silicon Valley entrepreneur called Steve Blank. So Steve Blank wrote a number of interesting books called the most important of which relates to customer development, is the 4 steps to the epiphany, right? Which is his customer development process. So customer development is all about just asking the right questions and understanding customers at different levels, right? So the first stage of customer development is always going to be customer discovery. So we have to know what kind of customers are out there in the world for us to ship with in some capacity. Then we need to validate whether and that can be done pretty easily just by talking to them and maybe doing some prototyping and sharing the results of that prototype with them. Once we've got validation, we then need to shift gear into starting to create more and more customers, right? So we go from hypothesizing about who our customers might be, validating the fact that they are indeed our customers for a particular set of products and services, and then going to actually create those customers. And once we can get to the customer creation stage, then we can start to build a company, right? So this can take months or it can take years if you're not very experienced with this customer development process to get from customer discovery to company building, right? So today we'll be talking about stage 3. I will be touching on some of the elements of customer discovery and customer validation, how to accelerate those a little bit later in the presentation, but the predominant focus is on customer creation. And yeah, it's pretty interesting topic. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to originate new business opportunities, like what tools, systems, processes can we implement to aid and accelerate not only customer creation, but also key partner creation. Now, I'm going to explain to you the difference between customers and key partners, because both are critically important. You need both to succeed for most business models, although sometimes the customer and the key partner can be the same. Occasionally, that's the case. But I'll explain the difference between customers for me and key partners in my case, and you might be able to reflect on your particular business model and understand the difference between the kind of different stakeholders that you're engaging with. And also, how to go from having validated a customer that it's the right kind of customer for you to collaborate with. How do you onboard them? And also, do we need to take said customer through a bit of a process for them to realize what our value is? So with some products, it's not necessarily going to be the case. Particularly commodities. People understand the value of commodities like petrol and water and all that kind of stuff. So then it's just about agreeing the price, right, for that transaction. But for some products, there needs to be some sort of customer journey that they realize what kind of value we can bring to a particular situation or particular project or particular program, for example. So I'll explain some of the ways that I do that, and you guys can reflect on whether that's applicable to your particular business model. And some of the ideas will be applicable, and others will be a little bit misaligned with your particular situation. And also we'll touch on persistence, like how to follow up, but not come across as too needy. Maintain status within the mind of the key partner or customer. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here, but we'll move through them and discuss all the different facets in this one presentation. Okay, so today what I thought I would do is actually provide a case study of my own kind of professional advisory service. So as I mentioned before, I pretty much take through a process of helping them clarify different facets of their business. One of the tools that I use, and definitely the tool that I recommend using first, is the business model canvas. So for those who don't know, the business model canvas is like a one-page business plan, and it captures the top most important 9 key building blocks of your business. And of course, we're going to be talking quite a bit about that element today. Your marketing channels and distribution channels, your customer segments, your cost structure, and your revenue streams. So effectively, we need to make sure that we can arrive at a business model that makes sense in the real world based on, filling this in correctly. So, so today let's discuss the difference between customers and key partners. So a customer typically is the beneficiary. They'll typically be the payer. As you've got organizations, you might have economic buyers and the users might be different just because it's a large organization. But for small businesses, it tends to be the person paying is the one receiving the benefit. Okay, so key partners, by contrast, we partner with key partners to deliver kind of like a combined result to the customer segments. So we work with people and organizations and institutions on this side of the board to deliver benefit to an end customer. So that's pretty damn common, particularly in the world of professional services, right? So, and what happens in that context is we actually value stack our value propositions. And you can definitely benefit quite extensively from striking the right partnerships and the right alliances. So one of the activities I like to take my founders through is this idea of creating ideal customer personas and ideal kind of key partner personas. And we can quickly take a quick look at these. Hopefully they're going to open nicely. Skip verification. So the long and short is that I try to get founders to deal customer in terms of these kind of key areas graphically, which is like what kind of industry are they in? How big is the industry? What kind of business graphic, phonographic, graphic. So that's typically when they are starting out, they're thinking about the kind of thing. So I've actually left out gender. I don't think it's necessarily age group as well. It's more about where are they up to in their process. And then psychographics, like how do they think? And then behavioral makeup as well. So we can apply that both to the customer side and also the key partner side. And that really helps us clarify who exactly we're going to be targeting. Excellent. Okay, so there's another one with key partner side. So typically we start off with the business model canvas. And then what we need to do is we need to drill into these elements a lot deeper, right? So that's why we create these kind of documents that support and define more accurately who exactly we mean. But we can't obviously fit an A4 page into here because we might have multiple key partners and we might have multiple customer segments. So you need to create one of these for each of your customer segments if you're going to be extremely diligent in and specific in what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a few of the mechanics involved with customer creation for intangible professional services, advisory services. So this is the area that I know about the most. So I've got a lot of clients in that space who are doing like digital transformation kind of things, change management, all those kind of really kind of intangible. Oh dear, okay, apologies, Jacinta. Connection issues. So apologies for the connection issues. Yeah, apologies. I can't really control it, unfortunately. So bye for now. See you. So the way I think about it is really in on a heat scale, right? So when you're creating a customer, if you receive a warm referral, then ultimately they're going to be considerably warmer than, if you just bump into them on the street kind of thing. And then throughout this journey, the idea is to actually warm them up more and more. So you might have a discovery call, and that might warm them up more. And then you might do a video explanation. You might provide them a whole range of other kind of information that helps them understand exactly how you operate and your value, right? And so I've established a process of doing this, and then they might sign up, and then they might receive additional value that way. And if you're able to meet up with them in person, that's obviously going to be beneficial, because you're going to understand them and their situation a lot better. And of course, that's one of the most intimate approaches you can be taking. And then it's about, once you've heated them up to say 100 degrees boiling point, then it's about maintaining them at that temperature, and then they maintain the connection with you as you progress through the various stages of rolling out your service provision. With products, it's probably a little bit similar, but of course, it's the product that needs to maintain the warmth, right? So if you're developing a piece of software, then you need to have a way that the user gets ongoing value, and so that they are committed to actually returning to your product and using it and gaining that benefit. So in services, you need to be the one, you're the product, unfortunately. So you need to be obviously retouching and reconnecting with people on a routine basis. But I think that that's a really good way of thinking about it, is like, how do we maintain heat when it comes to developing a customer relationship, so that we get to them to like some sort of hook point or some sort of boiling point. And so, but one of the things that's really important to think about is, like, if we do this really well, we can actually superheat them, and they can be extremely ecstatic about what we're doing. So what I've found through my experience in working with founders is there's certain activities that unlock a amount of value and are extremely insightful for the founder to work through. So the first stage is obviously mapping out that business model. The second stage is, in my kind of model, is that clarification piece, like really understanding the details of how your business model works, and then the optimization piece. So all of these activities, they don't obviously just deliver progress, very tangible progress. They also unlock all these sort of insights. And yeah, the insights kind of, they kind of produce quite a bit of dopamine. So people really enjoy the kind of outcomes that can be achieved through these processes. So that means that if I'm able to catch up with founders on an ongoing basis, then they remain pretty hot. So I like to, on average, catch up with founders at least once every fortnight. Yeah. No worries. Thanks very much, Anna. We'll catch up later. So one of the things that happens with customers is, over the course of time, they start to cool down. So your relationship with them actually starts to cool. And so what I've found is that the more that you know a person, the longer it takes for them to cool down, right? But I do remember that an interesting experience, like I went to school in Western Australia, and so I grew up there, and I knew friends from school really well. And for the first 5 or 6 years, it was really easy to get back in touch with them and catch up. But then I went away for like 5 years and lived in Europe for 5 years. And when I returned, I tried to kind of organize something, and it was really, really difficult to actually organize anything, because, that emotional connection had cooled off a lot. So I typically suggest that, as a general rule of thumb, if you meet someone in, just randomly in a very fleeting, it's quite a fleeting contact, then the relationship can cool off really, really quickly. So you might meet with them and talk to them at a bar or at a at a networking function, and then if you don't follow up within that next couple of days, then you are you're in a bit of trouble. So if, however, you manage to spend 2 or 3 hours with them over multiple meetings, then they might cool down, in over the course of weeks, right? And then if you know them really quite well, then it'll take months or years for them to cool down. So the way I need to design my customer success journey is really in a way that helps them get to know me a lot better and get to a point that they can know, like, and trust me, and feel that our time spent together results in huge progress and it's hugely valuable for them. So that's this kind of hitting up process and maintaining the boiling point for the relationship. And actually, the level of heat of the relationship can correspond to how much value they see from a financial perspective as well. So I do know that there are a lot of kind of, business coachy kind of people, and they actually throw full day-long webinars, not webinars, even like in person in these flashy 5-star hotels. And they do a 9-hour course or 8-hour course completely free of charge. And one of the reasons why they do that is to superheat a large proportion of those in attendance. So yeah, definitely for professional services and coaching and all that kind of stuff, that's super important, is to actually provide access to your services free of charge for a period of time, so that people can understand for themselves how valuable that is to them. Excellent. Okay, so moving along. So some of the other things to help, over the course of the last 3 years, I've created a whole range of different resources that I provide to founders on an ongoing basis. Some of them are the webinars, and unfortunately today the connection isn't as good as it should be. Just woke up this morning and it was just not behaving. But typically, these webinars and workshops are a real opportunity for me to be able to share a lot of my experience and insights with founders free of charge. There are also book lists, like directing them to the right book for them at this moment in time. I also provide a whole range of different hints. So say if I come across an opportunity for them for a grant or a public tender, or some interesting kind of market event that occurs, I'm going to forward it to them immediately and get them to check it out to see if there's a clue as to a new revenue source or a new partner that they could kind of start to work with in a very mutually beneficial way. And then also I've developed this idea of cross referrals, door opening services. So the founder gets introduced to a variety of my network so that they can start to do that customer discovery, do that customer validation, and start to position themselves to customer create moving on. So there's a variety of different ways you can design services in particular, such that they don't just deliver long-term value. Like usually strategy just delivers long-term value because you do the strategy work, but then you need to execute. So what I've done instead is decided, well, maybe there's some of these elements of the execution that I can accelerate to give founders a sense that we're not just doing academic and theoretical work, we're actually starting to take products and services to market, not just structure, not just describe how we would do it. So that's that. And so how I think of it is very much like thermodynamics, right? So someone meets you, you need to heat them up to 100 degrees. And then if you can, you should heat them up even more. Just keep heating them, right? So they experience a huge dopamine rush, and they enjoy working together with you, and it's really exciting and valuable discussions and interactions they have with you. So if you're in products or services, you might think, the question I would be asking myself is, do your sales processes and customer success journeys superheat your customers so that they're absolutely hugely excited by what you're offering them? Not just 7 out of 10, but like I even, for my one-on-one sessions, even if I get a 9 out of 10, I'm like, well, I haven't superheated them, so that's annoying. I want to get 10 out of 10 for my one-on-one sessions. So yeah, I think the first company that really did this well was Airbnb, actually. So Airbnb, there's a podcast called Masters of Scale, and so Airbnb went through Y Combinator, which is pretty much the world's top accelerator. And so what the guys from Airbnb were encouraged to do is actually use their own service. So they started using their own service and actually staying in the Airbnbs. And they were trying to work out what would take them from having like a 5-star service to a 7-star to an 8-star. So people would be completely and utterly blown away by the kind of experience that they were interacting with. So they came up with all sorts of ideas. Some of them are around how can they better make the stay. So how can they make that initial process so how responsive the host is. Does the host do something above and beyond? So in Cyprus, one of the hosts actually made me some sort of hunter stew. So that was kind of really an interesting experience, which took my experience from, say 5 out of 10 or 5 out of 5 to like 8 out of 5. So yeah, just think about whether there is the possibility of superheating your customers. So heading across to key partners now, key partner creation for intangible services, intangible professional advisory services. So key partnerships, like what is the difference from a relationship building standpoint? Key partners and larger customers have a lot in common because typically, the deal sizes are a lot bigger. The duration of time that we are actually spending working together and the kind of onboarding process takes a lot longer as well. And they typically have to be much higher trust relationships. So for low ticket, so someone, for example, joining digital solutions for $40 plus GST, that's actually not a hugely, large kind of financial commitment from the user of the service. And that just means that they're happy to give it a crack, as opposed to if I was to charge $1,000 for 3 hours of my time or something like that, then obviously that would require customers to have a lot more faith in the fact that they're going to get huge value out of those sessions because they have to, fork out a lot more. So with key partners, unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity to offer digital solutions, which is like a subsidy that can be applied to some of the services that I deliver. And so effectively, the difference is that the customer acquisition cost is a lot higher. I might actually have to go and visit, the key partner face-to-face and spend time with them and have coffee and all that kind of stuff. But once I've onboarded a key partner, like, for example, a business station or some of the other ones that I work with, like Space Cubed, and variety of other kind of government departments, the customer lifetime value can be a lot longer. So often it's worthwhile, but it takes a lot longer, and there are a number of kind of hoops that you need to jump through, and you need a lot more kind of evidence of your efficacy, whether it be in terms of the product or the service that you actually deliver to the market. So my superheating strategy for key partners has been very heavily centered around in-person, creating an in-person working relationship. It's been about providing kind of drip feeding value over many months. So say that I've written a new blog or something and I think that they'd be interested in that particular topic, then I'd actually send it to them or send it to them via their LinkedIn direct message. There's also a way to help accelerate the building of a key partnership, which is like lowering the threshold to collaboration. So say it's a major institution and they're not willing to sign you up on a 10-year retainer for $1 million a year. Maybe it's just as simple as running an event together, just so that you guys can get to know how each other work. But it is about understanding them and their business inside out and the dynamics that are happening within that larger organization. And then it's about, keeping the conversation going, following up for months and months, but at the same time, not coming across as needy, just coming across as someone that can be trusted and someone that's a really good source of information and knowledge, market intel. And sometimes what you'll be able to do is send them surveys, help them understand their business better from the perspective that you're wanting to help them, understand their business better, but also give a level of transparency into their business, in regards to a particular problem space or in terms of a particular pain point that they might be experiencing. So that's that. Superheating, more opportunities to superheat include showing up to their events and presentations, like listening, understanding as much as possible, spending time with them in a social context. So you don't always have to be doing business, but if they happen to be at your gym or at your bowling club or anything like that, or invite them to catch up for some beer with friends. This is all kind of sales 101 type stuff, but it's important to remember. So organizing routine catch-ups is really important. So sometimes I organize masterminding sessions with my key partners, just to understand where they're up to. And then over the course of time, kind of understanding and starting to formalize a relationship with them. So yeah, providing free, legitimately useful information, because if it's free and it's useless, then that doesn't have any kind of heating effect at all. It's just like bores the person, and actually it could have a negative effect. Co-creating value with them at small scale. So that could be by co-creating a webinar or workshop or whatever it is, or an event, or volunteering it for one of their events. Sometimes you can do test tasks or pilots so that they can understand how quickly you move. Are you really efficient, or do you get the job done, but it doesn't take a month to actually complete anything? And then it's about following through and completing what you set out to accomplish. Be good. That's really important, because if the result isn't great, then you may as well not have done it in the first place. Okay, moving along. Okay, so what you might be thinking, well, COVID's happened, everyone's now working from home or from the moon or wherever. So why is it so important to meet people face to face for those larger customers and those larger key partners? Well, actually, how I managed to get the gig with Business Station at the start was I got an email from Aussie Industry, and it said something about the Australian Small Business Advisory Service. And that was like, oh my gosh, there's such a service that exists. So then I reached out to Mark South, who's the now COO of the organization, and we caught up for coffee, although we didn't actually drink any coffee. The coffee is not the important part, it's the meeting in person. And then they had a few opportunities for internal business advisors to join the team. And so that was really the origin story for me and Business Station. And I've done that multiple times with multiple organizations, right? So yeah, with Space Cubed, they've got their own, across in Perth, they've got their own offices there. And you can actually just go and become a community member and sit in those offices. And so they see you every other day and they get to know you. And sometimes they've got those founder sundowners and all that kind of stuff where you're able to actually meet with them on an ongoing basis. And that gradually pushes the collaboration forward. But they do often ask the question, let's catch up when you're next back in X location, Perth, Australia, Melbourne, Brisbane. You know, people want to meet you because they want to understand a little bit more about who you are. So they want to see the whites in your eyes. And the discussions can be a bit more nuanced and complex than video conferences can allow for. And I guess that's why Xi Jinping went across to the Kremlin to discuss a very nuanced topic, I believe, which is obviously the geopolitical situation across the world. So yeah, meeting in person can still be your strongest possible marketing tool and even your competitive advantage in a post-COVID world. So if you're competing against someone else that has the same credentials as you, but they happen to be down the road and they can meet with the decision maker a lot easier, then they're going to win. And you're going to win if it's the reverse, right? So it's important to be really cognizant about where you position yourself in the city or across multiple cities if you are serving nationwide. And I'm in the process of expanding my remit to include some of the other states as well and meet with some of the other key partners that could benefit from what I do. So in summary, what we're seeing in 2023, so everything used to be, the whole customer development process used to be completely offline, right? But now some of the customer discovery processes can happen online, and I help founders discover who their customers really are. And some of the customer validation can happen online as well, because because effectively, sometimes you can reach out cold to people, or you can be warmly introduced to people. And then sometimes you can even create customers online completely. But if it's a large and complex kind of relationship that you need to strike, you've got to get off offline and get in the train or the plane or wherever it is, whatever transport you're wanting to use, and actually go and meet them and make sure that you can have that nuanced conversation and sign those much larger, higher ticket items, collaborations face to face. And that's where the company building comes from. So yeah, offline meetings are much more if they go well, right? Excellent. So let's see how we're going for questions. Because I'd love to hear your questions and of course field them if we've got time and there's a level of interest. So timing is always an issue. You're always catching people. I'll just wait for the internet to stabilize. Yeah, so you're always catching your customers and key partners potentially at the wrong times, unless they happen to be introduced for that exact purpose. So there is a huge problem in mistiming. And so what I suggest doing is creating what I call a partnership relationship management tool. So I use Trello, and one is for partners. And I've got two different processes for how would you say, like discovering customers versus key partners, validating customers versus key partners, and creating customers versus key partners. Because in my industry, you don't need to keep customers up as much as you do key partners. So there needs to be a much more of an elaborate strategy around key partner formation. So yeah, you need enough partners potential partners in there, so that at any given time, there's enough work going on within one of those key partner organizations. So my suggestion with regards to building out these relationships is move as quickly as possible, but no quicker than the market or situation allows. So don't force your services or products down people's throats. That's definitely a no-go. But in order for you to be able to gauge how quickly to move, you're going to need to understand and be able to read how quickly or how hot a particular relationship is. And sometimes, if you're a little bit less experienced, it can be, you can misgauge how hot a particular collaboration is at a given point in time. So often, within the pitch decks of founders, they've got all of these different companies that they're apparently working with, but the companies aren't necessarily all that well aware of what they're doing. They might not understand. While you're waiting for the timing to, the planetary alignment to happen, fortnightly if things are moving quickly, maybe monthly or bi-monthly if things are moving slower. But always think about that next opportunity to co-create value together with that individual. And it could be just a matter of having a discussion and passing market intel between each other and making each other aware of opportunities that perhaps they weren't immediately aware of. Earn the right to become one of their trusted advisors. So it takes time. And then also the other thing is to understand the underlying business dynamics of your industry. So what are the drivers and also the headwinds? So the drivers push us towards collaboration and the headwinds actually impede us from collaborating. So one of the reasons why it was quite quick actually to kind of join Business Station. One of the reasons was that they were in the market for someone to help them in the exact capacity that I was, wanting to help with. So there was a really good level of match, and there was a really good, kind of dynamic and timing of all of it coming together. But actually, it was maybe 2 or 3 months down the track. So yeah, sometimes the gears need to click in the background for a collaboration to move forward. And if you're waiting for government funding of any kind, then sometimes those timelines can blow out. Another thing that I recommend that founders do if they are looking for new key partners is to create something with like a wiki. So typically how I discover new key partners is I use LinkedIn Jobs. There's a Jobs tab. And then I turn on notifications for different keywords. So some of my keywords are like accelerator, startups, and a whole variety. Business model is another one. You could also do detailed desktop research. So typically I outsource my desktop research now just because it just takes too long. Scrolling through all the different, Google information. So I outsource it to someone that actually creates a wiki for me on my market. So provides a lot of detailed market research and assembles it within a wiki, within Notion, which is another small business tool that is pretty powerful and allows you to kind of catalog all the information that you require in that one place. So if you're going to market, typically speaking, you need at least 2 people, one to actually go into the market and one to assemble them, all the desktop supporting information. So mine actually covers a whole variety of different things. I'm going to Melbourne in the next couple of days. And so mine covers a whole variety of things. Key partners is one of them, but also clients and what's this? Yeah, there's a whole variety and connections, and then got events going on as well. So understanding exactly what kind of business events are on, what the cost is, And also, you know, you don't always have to use business connections to access more of the market. Sometimes actually friends who kind of have different access, you know, market access might be willing to make an introduction. But, you know, in the early stages of your relationship, it was just a purely kind of social get together and kind of a personable thing. But yeah, often, you know, your closest customers and clients are actually pretty good friends as well. You kind of get along pretty well. So do keep that in mind when you're thinking about how to kind of heat a particular relationship up, is that, you know, potentially friends can help with that process. Guys, I've covered a lot of information. I hope that the connection wasn't too bad. It seemed to be kind of dropping out every kind of 10 minutes or so for a period of time. Hopefully that wasn't too disruptive, and apologies if it was. But do you guys have any thoughts or comments or questions based on what we've covered today? No. So what I'll do, guys, is I will turn this presentation into a PDF and I'll send it out to all of you guys. Oh, thanks very much, Catherine. That's very nice of you. Thanks for persisting as well, guys, because I realized that, you know, the connection was not that great. I did want to information is fundamentally really useful and has been created over the course of about 10 to 12 years experience in entrepreneurship. And it's not academic information, it's actually information that I've tested in the past. And run up against challenges and help you accelerate your process. Because, you know, launching and scaling a business, it's a long-term endeavor. And there are better and kind of worse ways of going about it. And there are also very long-winded approaches. So if you have to learn everything yourself, it just takes years. So definitely leveraging others' experience is really important in that journey. Alrighty, guys. Well, without further ado, thanks again for coming. I will definitely be sending you my details, all of the information that was referenced during our presentation. If you wish to follow up and discuss any of your projects. Thanks very much, David. Well, I'm going to continue on. I'm not done yet, David. Things have gone pretty well in general, so I'm going to continue. Of course, I'm going to probably try to find the digital solutions providers that are in the process of being appointed by the Commonwealth. Why wouldn't I? Because it's a really great program, and I'd like to collaborate with them. But there are a whole variety of other, you know, partnerships that I can form to help small businesses and startups and really efficiently. Okay, guys, have a good one. Speak soon. Bye-bye.